All right, so today this is doctorarjaybe, and today I was going to talk about gaining weight for your health. Um, you know, if you look at some of the social media pages, it almost seems like you can never get too skinny. I saw this one lady who was showing off her waist and talked about the exercises she needed to do. And her waist looked like it was somewhere around maybe 24 inches. Um, you know, and, since she was talking about all the exercises she was doing, I was joking around and saying maybe I could get a 24-inch waist too. The only way that I probably could do that is if I starved myself near to death to get a waist that small. Some people are genetically blessed. If you have a bulky frame, you're never going to look skinny. No matter what you do. Likewise is true also. If you have a generally skinny frame, you're not going to all of a sudden become, bulked up bodybuilder. You got to live with what you got, basically. But for some people who are having problems with their eating disorders, it's a good idea for them to put on a little weight. In general, we think that the healthiest BMI is about 25. If you go down to, let's just say, about 22, you're probably safe. If you go up to about 28, you're probably safe. So somewhere in that range for an adult is fine. Now, if you're a young adult or a teenager, sometimes you might be what other people might consider underweight, just because you haven't developed quite well yet. When I was in high school, I was 5'10" and 150 pounds. That's just how my frame was. I decided that I didn't like that and I wanted to put on some weight. So I basically started taking second helpings on everything. And I did. I put on about 20 pounds in a course of a year and went from being skinny to a fat butt. I wasn't doing any exercise, so all I did is put on fat. We really don't want you to do that kind of stuff if possible. But eating a healthy diet with a little extra calories in it and including some exercise so that instead of putting on all fat, you put on some muscle, sometimes it's a good thing. In general, if you're very skinny and you need to put on weight, that would be the way to go about it. Now, there are, certain foods that'll kind of help out. For the teenagers, I've always told them not to worry about their weight because they're still growing. I want to make sure that they grow properly. So I tell them, it's a good idea for you to have hamburgers and French fries and for you to eat lots of pizza because calories are important for kids when they're growing. To feed the body when it's putting on its height and its weight, you got to have enough calories in your system. And it's hard to, get that many calories if you're on, a minimal diet. You're gonna have to eat. You're gonna have to eat some junk in your diet when you're a teenager, and that's appropriate because teenagers can require as much as 3,000 calories a day. The average adult probably somewhere around a couple of thousand. So if you need an extra 1,000 calories, you're gonna have to eat extra stuff. So that's just the way it is. But because you're growing taller, because you're putting on muscle, it's a good idea then to incurs the weight gain. And by exercising, you prevent yourself from just putting on fat. Once you finish growing, once you're somewhere in the 20s, 21 or 23, when growth pretty much stops, at that point you can take a look at what's going on and then decide which way you want to go. Generally, if somebody is a little bit overweight when they first enter high school, they're not going to be as heavy by the time they finish because of the growth that occurs. If you put on, muscle and 10 inches in height, you could go from a pudgy little kid just entering high school to a guy who's pretty bulked up with muscle by the time he finishes, as long as he puts in some time exercising. Okay, so, even though everybody is talking about be as skinny as possible, here's a situation where you might want to put some weight on. Especially if you take a look at what your BMI is, make sure it's in a healthy range, not too fat, not too skinny. Both portions are associated with increased health problems. Being too skinny can be health problems. Being overweight, of course, can cause health problems. So, that's why I'm saying if you're really, really skinny, you might even consider putting on some weight, doing some exercise to try to muscle up and make your body a little bit filled out. Okay, I think that's good. Check some of the other videos out.